I think that Lot42 is a really expansive space where there's so much opportunity to happen in this space. And I've been a part of, like last year I was a part of the Beer and Bacon show that was hosted here. And it was enormous, and the space was huge, and it was full of energy. And I think that there's really a lot of potential, and it's a real central hub in our city to be able to host events, smaller and larger, and bring, people in to entertain us that maybe hasn't really been an option before. So I think it's a really cool, trendy, interesting space to be able to offer more. So my name is Dainard, and I am the owner and operator of Buzz Tour Company. I started this in Kitchener-Waterloo, and I travel out to Norfolk County, which is an up-and-coming wine region in Ontario, and take people for daily experiences to try something different. I find a lot of people are really stressed out today and there's not a lot of connections. So we do a lot through social media, but not a lot of people give an opportunity to come together. And so my business is sort of twofold, I guess. It brings people and friends together to enjoy a day of exploration, but also allows them to unplug and come out to a county that is unknown to them. So it's a learning experience, but it's also a way to really unplug and unwind and reduce some of that stress that they're feeling. It's funny, because ever since I was a little girl, I was always the one with a big smile on my face and always a really happy person. And all the way through high school, I remember friends saying to me, or people saying to me, like, what are you on? Like, how are you so happy? And it's just been, and I realize now it's part of my gift, right? It's part of what I bring. And so I like to help people feel lighter. I like them to feel good about themselves. And I feel like we live in a world that is so clouded and so full of judgment and focuses on what we're not doing right. So I try to focus on where people are doing really great and help lift others up. So I think that that's sort of how this kind of came to be a little. If anyone's been on a wine tour before, they come on my wine tour and it's a very different kind of experience. Oftentimes wine tours are a great way to get out to, or when you get to the region, you can take a wine tour and someone takes you from spot A to spot B to spot C. And what's different about my business is that it's not just a drop off. You don't just get to a winery and I'm like, see you later in 45 minutes and go charge at the tasting bar and compete with other 100 people that are there. It's a very backdoor, personal, VIP kind of experience, and it's very intimate and personal. So people come with me, and not only am I able to give them a little piece of my energy for the day and kind of inform them about what's so special about this region that I'm taking them to, and that it really is an up and coming region and really needs the exposure, first of all, but it's a really lovely place to visit. And it really gives people an opportunity to explore that. And people tell me all the time that it's just so different than any other wine tour that they've ever taken, and they learn a lot. Norfolk County is along Lake Erie, along the Ontario south coast. Turkey Point, Port Dover, Long Point, those are places that people tend to be more familiar with. Simcoe, there are about 12 or 13 different wineries and breweries in the area, and the area is just continuing to evolve, and there's even more happening and coming this year. Before I started this, I was working corporate and was kind of looking for something. I was looking for a different idea. I was keeping my mind open. And I had a friend who kept telling me about the wineries in Norfolk, and I really thought that I would end up in a county where people would be making wine in the kitchen sink. Like, that's kind of what was in my mind. I don't know why, and because it's small towns, right? That was my assumption. So one day I went down to visit the girlfriend who had told me about this, and she said, I'm going to take you to one of my favorite wineries. And so I was like, oh, okay, and I didn't really think it was a big deal. And then we showed up at the Burning Kiln, which is, I always refer to it as sort of like the flagship winery out in Norfolk County. And we showed up, and there was this incredible vineyard, this beautiful landscape, backdrop onto the biosphere, the Carolinian forest. Like, it is one of the most beautiful places I've seen in Ontario. And I sat on this patio drinking this fabulous wine, and I was in awe. I was shocked and in awe. And the manager came over and started chatting with us and offered us to try different things, and then said, do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, like, is anyone doing wine tours out here? Because this place is amazing. And she said, well, no one's doing that yet. And I said, I'm gonna do that. Like, it literally just fell out of my mouth. I'm gonna do that. And I don't know where it came from. And so after that moment, it was like, I left with notes on napkins, and it was constantly like this little voice in the back of my head that kept saying, you need to do something with this. You need to be a part of this place. Because so many people needed to experience what I was experiencing that day. And so I started writing my business plan, and I was super discouraged because I realized the cost of running tours was quite high. The cost of owning vehicles and liability and all of those things were really, really high. And I wanted to start with 15 or 20 people at a time. And I realized really quickly that wasn't going to be feasible for me. So a friend said, why don't you start small? Take 6 or 7 people at a time and see how it goes. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. So 2 years later, I launched. It launched in January of last year, so January 2nd of 2018. And I had tours booked already for March and April, and took more than 350 people out last year, 4 to 7 people at a time, which was really more than I kind of had imagined that it would be. This year I have kind of grown the business in the corporate side. So not only am I taking still those small groups of 4 to 7, but I'm now able to take groups of up to 50. So I'm working with different corporate groups in the area who want to really celebrate their teams and do something a little different and have some fun. And that's what I'm exploring this year. I'm working this year with a company called Voyogo, which they're here locally in Kitchener-Waterloo, and they started in London. And I had no idea that they offered a fleet of executive coach buses. And so I've been able to partner with them and can take up to groups of up to 20 on a more regular basis. In fact, often they only had these executive coach buses in their London office, and they brought one here more specifically to use for buzz tours, which is really exciting. And so far I've already taken 2 groups out this year in February, of all the months that I never dreamed I would take people out. They're thrilled, I believe, as well as I'm thrilled. So I've been able to package groups of not only my original 4 to 7, but now groups of 8 to 12, 12 to 16, and 16 to 20 with the help of Voyogo, which is really exciting. And I also work with Cherry Bus Lines when it comes to groups that are much larger than that. So I work with like charter buses and things of that nature, up to 50 people when the requests are that large.